Excellent. Good morning, Pastor Mark Connor. Welcome and thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure, Luke. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of what's a really special day for Follow Church. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've had you at Follow before and that was wonderful. And it's not quite the same having you on video, but we still appreciate you being part of our 50th celebration. So we'll have you back in the flesh some other time. But today we're really looking forward to what you're going to share with us.
Thank you. I'm missing the real coffee. That's always the challenge with Zoom and the video. You don't get to have a coffee and just be in the same space, which we're all missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we make the most of it and we all pivot, and it's been a season where we've learned a whole bunch of stuff, that's for sure.
For sure.
I think most of us have become media experts, which we weren't a few
yeah, ready or not.
Yeah, that's really good. So what's life look like for the Connors at the moment?
Yeah, look, we've been on a bit of a journey over the last 3.5 years. I'm a Melbourne boy, pretty much spent all my life in Melbourne other than a stint in America in my teenage years. So finished up at City Life back in early 2017, and we moved to Queensland. Had a bit of a sea change, tree change, sunshine change, and spent a couple of years up there. Really enjoyed that. And then we ended up moving back to Melbourne due to aging parents. So we rented for a while down here. And just to be close to my dad and my stepmom, who, in the last 18 months have passed away, lived good full lives, 89 and 92 respectively. So now we're based down in Fitzroy North, in urban Melbourne, and my wife and I are doing a montage of freelance ministry work, bit of coaching, a few webinars, some video sermons. And so other than not seeing our kids, we're bunkered down, we get on well, and we're enjoying life.
How are you enjoying the inner city? Is that a bit of a change for you?
It is actually, yeah. Fitzroy North's, I think, the third most walkable suburb in Melbourne, which means you can pretty much walk to everything, whether it's a library or swimming pool or a tram, and we're a stone throws away from the city, and really loving it. It's definitely another part of Melbourne than suburbia where we spent most of our married life.
Yeah, great. Walking's not quite the same with the mask on, is it? But hopefully we can take our mask off again, to enjoy the fresh air again.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Well, you're here today because it's our 5th year birthday, and we thought it'd be great to hear from you on such a special occasion. So we're officially 5 years old this weekend, which is great. So we're sort of coming out of the toddler years and we're becoming a child as a church, which is great. We've kind of graduated from a church plant now to more of a church, which is a wonderful thing. And we're sort of putting roots down and looking forward to the next few years. So it has been an exciting few years, these 5 years. God's been really faithful to us and we've seen some great things happen. But now we're sort of rolling up our sleeves and looking ahead. So I thought it'd be good just to ask you, as someone who's so experienced as a pastor, what kind of advice would you give to us as a 5-year-old church as we're sort of looking to the future?
For sure. Well, first of all, congratulations. I mean, 5 years is a fantastic milestone to be celebrating. But more than that, just to see the vibrancy and health and well-being of the church. It's a bit like a baby, not all babies make it through, but you guys are alive and kicking and growing and maturing. And I love being there back in November 2018, was just so impressed with the life and the spiritual vitality of the church. And so well done. It's a great time to be alive for you as a church community. So a couple of things I was just praying for you. I think identity, just really reinforcing who you are as a church and just encouraging you to be unique. There's lots of churches in Melbourne, and unfortunately a lot of people copy others, but we don't need, clones of other churches. And so don't copy, keep creating and reinforcing that uniqueness. Follow disappeared. What would be missing? Well, there'd be some really unique contributions that you're making. So I think just knowing and reinforcing your identity would be one thing I'd advise you. I think another one, just for members of the congregation, is just understand that as you grow, as you get larger, the dynamics change. When the church is a dozen, you know everybody, you're in a circle, but as it goes to dozens and then hundreds, and structures change, and the reality is there's some strengths of large churches, and you already are a large church. I mean, 98% of churches in the world are under 200. So you're a large church. There's some strengths, but there's some weaknesses. You can't know everybody. Not everyone can be best friends with Luke and Kim, as amazing as you are, but you can know somebody. And so as you grow, understanding the dynamics of change, adjusting, being involved in a small group or a ministry team is really vital, because that's where your friendship, your connection will really develop. And then I think just seeing more people join the team. The only limit to your impact is how many more workers or ministers you can raise up. And so seeing people come into the crowd of follow, and then moving from being a consumer of ministry to a contributor of ministry. I think there's some of the keys for you at the 5-year mark, just knowing who you are, understanding the dynamics of a growing large church, and then just seeing more and more people join the team. And as your volunteer and your leadership and your ministry team grows, then the impact you have will continue to expand. So there'll be a few thoughts for you at this stage.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think that unique part is a really important piece. And I sort of said from day one that Follow won't be the church for everyone, and that's okay. But for those that are really excited about the vision God's given us, they become part of it, which is wonderful. So just staying the course where that's important, and
really important.
About to do
everyone else, a lot of people will come in and say, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? Everyone has a wonderful plan for your church. So continue to be true to who you are.
That's great. We're about to do a bit of revisioning in the next little while, so it's a good thing to keep in mind as we're doing that for sure. So I'm just wondering, we're in a unique season like every other person on the planet at the moment with COVID-19, and so things might look a little bit different on the other side of all of this. And so I just thought it'd be good to ask you, I'm sure you've done some thinking and praying and talking to a lot of other church leaders about this, but I'm just wondering what changes you see or expect coming out of COVID for the church particularly.
Yeah, it's a big conversation, Luke, right now with churches and leaders. And there's a lot of uncertainty. I think a lot of people just thought that this would be a little blip and then we'd rewind and play and life goes on as normal. But I think this is a major disruptor for not only society, but for the church. And so one word I'm hearing a bit is the word hybrid. Is that the church of the future is going to be a hybrid of physical space and digital space. And obviously we've had to pivot to digital, and for the churches that were already doing some stuff online, it's been a relatively easy change, but for some that hadn't, this is a huge shift. So the good news is the church is still the church, whether we're in the same room together or over a video conference call or a streamed service. The church is people, and we can connect in different ways. So I think hybrid, for some people, they're finding that the online thing can work really well. You're probably reaching some people now that may not actually walk into the building there at Follow. So our reach is broader. Someone's not too well or can't get some transport. The benefit of watching or engaging in a service online is huge. So I think it's not going to be getting rid of all that and let's go back to meeting in a room only. I think there's probably a future with a bit of both. So thinking about what that looks like. I've heard of some small groups that are going, wow, maybe we could meet once a month together, and then maybe a couple of other times we could connect, in the evening with a Zoom meeting. I don't have to worry about packing up the kids and getting in the car and fighting traffic. So, yeah, I think it's an opportunity to actually think about what can we take from this season and, put into the future and make the whole church experience even better than it has been.
Yeah, I certainly think there's some blessings with the hybrid, even like the leadership meetings. Like it's so important, some of them face-to-face, but some of them don't have to be. They can be online and a little bit shorter. And the thing I love about the online ones is when you press that red button, you're instantly back with your family. Whereas when you're face-to-face, you're chatting and then you're packing up and then you're talking in the car park and then you're driving home. And it's just another hour or so that you get back with your family. So I think it's been good time to sort of pivot and to rethink about the rhythms we have and how busy we are as individuals and also as a church. And as we reimagine, I think, taking all that into the mix and making some adjustments would be a really good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So just talking about that reimagination piece, as we do that, heading back towards a time in the future when we can gather again. As we reimagine church on the other side, what can we do to position ourselves for that and for what God has in store in the future?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Luke. Biblically, there's this kind of motive of the life of faith of having 3 seasons: orientation, disorientation, and reorientation. And you just think of Psalm 23, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. There's that orientation where God's present, life's good, everything's going well. And then suddenly, though I'm walking through the shadow of the valley of death and there's enemies around, we've got this disorientation where, God, where are you? What's happening? Life's not going so well. It's a stormy, cloudy day. And then we have this reorientation where the psalm ends, and now goodness and mercy are following me. I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And in many ways, that's a motive of the life of faith. We have times where everything's going great. Then we have times where everything's being disrupted. And in many of the Psalms, Book of Lamentation, there's a whole lament of, God, what is going on? And then this reorientation. The interesting thing about the reorientation is it's not going back to the way things were, but actually moving forward to the new thing God has for us. And so COVID-19 is a major disorientation. I mean, everything's in upheaval right now. So what will the new look like? And I don't think we're going back to where we were. I read about a survey in Britain where only 9% of Brits said we wanted life to go back to normal. That's pretty amazing. Over 90% were saying we want things to be different. And you just named some of them, Luke. I think people are going, I don't want to spend a long commute in the car every day. I want to have more time for my family. I want to look after my own well-being. And so I think it's actually an opportunity for us as the church just to be very prayerful and open to go, what could church look like on the other side? And maybe there's some things we can leave behind that weren't working well. Methodology comes and goes. But our core message of loving God, loving our neighbor, serving the world is the same. And maybe there's some ways we can do that better on the other side. So I think just a prayerful openness. I don't think any of us know what the reorientation could look like, but just holding things lightly. Maybe some of the sacred cows, some of the things church has to be done this way. I think just open-handedness, openness, just to see what the new could look like.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that prayerful openness is so important. And whether you're heavily involved at Follow and serving in ministry, or whether you're just attending and you've got other important things at the moment, like raising family and other responsibilities at work, it doesn't matter who you are, you can still be prayerfully open and seeking God. And so I think that's a way that everyone can contribute in this season for sure. And hopefully input as we move forward. We're going to do some learning labs as we head towards a relaunch in the future. So we're going to do one around the challenges that we face as a church, but also our local communities facing. And then we're going to do one on our opportunities that come from that, both for us as a church and also in our local community. So I'm really hoping and praying that our congregation will really attend that well and contribute. But I guess the key thing is that prayerful openness as we head towards it, writing down some ideas, praying, seeking God, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's great advice.
That's fantastic, Luke. And I think sometimes we tend to add a lot. We don't prune very well, and so sometimes it's an opportunity to go, well, maybe we should stop doing that. Maybe that's served its time. Maybe that's had a life cycle of blessing, and thank God for it. But sometimes we've got to let things go and prune some things so that we've got the energy and life to put into some new things. And maybe it's even doing fewer things better. And one of the dangers, and I hadn't thought about this, but at the 5-year mark, one of the dangers is the church tries to be and do everything. And you end up doing a lot of things, medium well versus maybe those few core things exceptionally. So that would be another thought, just to pop on the table.
Yeah, coming into this year, one of our big goals was rest. We felt like we never wanted to be a busy church, but we've become a bit busy. And so I did some sermons on rest and how important that was. We did a work, rest and play series at the start, and then we sort of got through that, and then COVID came. So it was almost like, God, we haven't rested enough. So go back to the drawing board. Here's a few more months to practice it. So, but yeah, I think, in this time, definitely, what do we start? What do we stop? What do we pause? What's working? And I think it's a great time for us to critique ourselves a little bit as well. Yeah. We've just been through Ephesians and we talked about APEST a little bit. And I think in some ways that can be a really good filter of critique, how we're going with the apostolic and the prophetic, evangelistic, shepherd, teacher sort of stuff. And I think like most churches, the ST we're doing fairly well, but maybe some of those other ones become a bit of a filter we can use as well. So, I'm looking forward to going through the process. And people have often asked me in the last 5 years, if you were starting your church again, what would you do differently from the start? And it's kind of like we've been given this once in a lifetime opportunity to go, okay, let's start again. Let's relook at it.
Reset.
All the answers I've given, okay, now's the time to actually do it. So So it'll be great.
Exactly.
A challenge, but an exciting one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm. Excellent. So we're looking forward to the message today. So what have you got on your heart to share with us this morning?
Yeah, well, look, 5-year anniversary of you as a church community. I was just praying about contributing to what God's doing there at Follow. And so I'm going to share a message called Reimagining Church, and just go back and, ask the simple question. When Jesus said, I will build my church 2,000 years ago, what did he have in mind? What was he actually thinking? And does our church, your church, my church reflect what he had in mind? And so just one of those kind of return to basics, just paint a bit of a fresh picture of the core, the essence of what church is about. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you.
I was so excited when you told me what you were going to talk on, because I'd already sent these questions through and there was these reimagination stuff in there. And then when you said it, I thought, God's at work. The Holy Spirit's got us in sync. And really excited to hear what you're going to share today. And we really appreciate you, Pastor Mark, just investing into the life of Follow and being with us. So really hope you really enjoy this message this morning. And as we go to it now, let's prepare our hearts and get ready for what God's going to say.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mark.